Hello everyone and welcome to Champions Character. I'm so excited you're part of the program, and my goal is to help you or your child go from white belt to a black belt in the martial arts. And what that includes is, yes, martial arts skills of course, but more importantly is the life skills program that we run, which is taken from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and the children's version is called Leader and Me. We call the martial arts segment Champions Character because that includes everything, okay? So a big part of the program is understanding what the life skills part is. And the first grade you're going to go for, which is the white belt with the red stripe, you have to know, yes, some martial art moves, which I'll cover in a different video, but this is the life skills bit that you got to get down. And basically what they got to get down is the Maturity Continuum. So what is that? Let me tell you all about it. So it helps children go from being dependent, so dependent on the parent or whoever it would be, to being independent, which is doing things for yourself, right? And then to the highest level, which is being interdependent, which is the highest level we want to get to in our lives, not just children, for ourselves as well, right? So that's the 3 different parts I'm going to talk about and briefly go over what the actual 7 habits are. So before we get into the Maturity Continuum, a question for you. What do we want our children to be like? What do we want them to have more responsibility? Do we want them to be more focused and these kind of things, right? Well, generally the answer to that is yes. Even if you have a super confident child, we want them to be even more confident and structure it in the right way. So going from, if you imagine like going from the bottom to the top, let's pretend everybody's down here and we want to get them even higher. Now, your child could be the most confident, the most focused, everything in the world. But we always want to teach one important concept to all our kids, which is raise your standard. And I keep saying for kids all the time, right? Remember, this is also an adult life skills program. So everything which I'm talking about is the same for adults. In actual fact, the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is an adult personal development book. It's just been reshaped so children can learn the material as well. So everything I'm talking to you about is in the adult life skills program as well. So don't think just like I talk about kids a lot. Parents, you may not be a student in the school. I hope you are, but even if you're not, still take all this on board because the culture of the home hopefully will change to understand what the 7 habits is, because it will help your child so much. So research tells us that right about when a child gets like 7 to 8, they start developing their identity a lot more, right? But is that to say like a 3-year-old cannot? A 3-year-old can't start understanding going from the importance of going from dependence to independent? Because they're 3 years old, right? Well, yes, they can. Okay, they understand consequences. If they touch a hot drink, they know that's hot, could burn. They're going to stay away from it a little bit. They're not going to do it as much. Do they investigate more? Of course they do. That's what we want the kids to do. So their brains are developing very, very fast. So don't think that these concepts I'm talking about is just for the older children. It's not. Classes start from 3. How we teach a 3-year-old can be completely different to how we teach a 7-year-old. How we teach a 7-year-old to a 12-year-old. Of course, things are taught differently, but the principles are still the same. Why change them? Gravity is gravity, right? For a 12-year-old can understand gravity, and a 3-year-old can understand gravity. They might understand it differently. The why is the big word. Well, why does that do that? An older child gets that a little bit more, right? But I'm a firm believer of thinking that even a small child can still learn these principles. Even if they don't understand them fully, they can still start learning the process. And then before you know it, the language that they have can be the language that we're using within the 7 habits, which will really help you, the parent, greatly. So what is the maturity continuum? So this is what it is. So it's a circle which has got around the outside of it the seventh habit, which is sharpen the saw, and all the other habits are on the inside. But as you can see, there's three lines there. Like one is like a shaded. Let me just get a little arrow so we know what I'm talking about. This one, dependence. So that's our lowest level. That's where everybody starts off with. As a child, we're very dependent on our parent, and we call that the attitude of you. So what does this mean? This level is somebody is sort of saying, if you can imagine, you look after me. You do everything for me. I don't take responsibility for anything. This person tends to be a blamer. They like to think the problem is always out there. That person is the reason I'm the way I am. Now, a child, they're going to have this level. Of course they are. They're very dependent on the parents, right? So this is where everybody starts. But what happens over time, sometimes people don't grow out of that level. They stay there. Am I saying just children? No, adults as well. Sometimes you can have an adult that is very dependent on other people. They blame other people. Everything is somebody else's fault. So this is our lowest level, right down the bottom here, being dependent on other people. Where do we want to try to get to? Well, we want to try to get to the second level. And the second level is the attitude of I. I can do this. I can take control. I'm not blaming anyone else. I'm responsible for what I just did, and I accept the consequences. Now, same again, can a child do this? Yes, they can. It's not saying, oh my gosh, this 3-year-old, 4-year-old now got to go and buy a house, go rent a flat or whatever the outcome is, right? It's not saying that. But can we get them to start taking responsibility for what they've done? Yes. Again, the younger the child is, the less they will understand. But if that child is thinking, right, okay, I'll just get out of bed, right, leave the bed how it is and go downstairs. Maybe a better way of helping them understand things is make that bed. You don't need mum or dad to make that bed for you. You can do it. It's not because we want them to do it as a chore necessarily, right? Or it's telling them off or saying they're being messy. It's not that. It's just getting them to take responsibility for something. And it could be as simple as making a bed. If we can get them to do that when they get up in the morning, they can own that space. They got an attitude of, I can do this. Mum and dad's there to help me. Of course they are, right? For many, many different things. Of course we need our parents. They're going to do different things. But I can take responsibility for what this thing is. Now, if we can get them to do that, if you envision like a chain, and like a bicycle chain, right? The lowest level, that one where we're dependent on everybody else, they just blame everybody else. They don't care if their link in that chain is strong at all. But when we go to this level, it's like now they care about their chain, or sorry, their link. They're the link, and they make sure that link is very strong. That's what we're trying to get the kids to do, to realize that as an individual, you can be very strong, you can be very responsible, and you can take situations that you thought maybe you couldn't handle before, you can take them on board. Bullying is a big one, right? For children growing up, they want the assistance of a parent, the school to help them with different things, which of course are all important. But the first part is them. Can they take responsibility for something? Yeah, but the bully's picking on me, which they shouldn't do. But that's an external thing. When a bully says certain things, whatever else, that's something which is happening outside, and then it comes to them. It's been directed at them. So how can we help them handle that situation? This is where this level is. It's understanding that you can be dependent. You can have the thoughts of thinking, this person is calling me, let's say they're calling me horrible names. Let's say they say, I got a big nose. Well, first thing, maybe I have got a big nose. So if I got a big nose, fine. Thank you for noticing. Secondly, maybe my nose isn't big and it's small. Okay, the person is saying, okay, I thought it was small, but no problem. Does it have to get into a conflict situation? No, it doesn't. Our first point is to de-escalate that situation straight away before the bully realizes that, oh, they've said something which is going to make me upset. Bullying is all about power. Who has got the power in this relationship? Who's got the power to decide, I'm going to control what happens here? And generally, it's the bully that's got that because they're taking control. Whereas, take control back. And we take control back not by necessarily in the first instance of telling the teacher or telling mom and dad. The first instance is you own it. The individual owns it. This person saying this, okay, so what? It doesn't make any difference to me at all. Not because I'm scared, but because I'm owning what this person says. This person says, I'm this, I'm that, whatever, okay. I can be very strong within myself. And of course, we teach these principles in the actual Champions Character program, right? The martial arts, of course, helps with this massively because it builds your confidence from the inside. Shape that. It starts from the outside when we do the punching, the kicking and stuff like that. So it looks like we're building them from the outside because they're doing all this. But what happens once they start doing that, then the power goes inside. It makes them powerful here, which is so much more important, to be powerful on the inside. Externally, they can punch, they can do these different things. I remember my father saying to me about bullying, how can you ever be bullied, Stephen? Because you know how to do these punches, to do these kicks, to do this stuff. How can somebody do that? Not because he wanted me to go out there and fight, but because he wanted you to understand you can fight. So because of that, remember the old Karate Kid thing? You don't have to fight. You don't feel the need to go out there and do that. Because we all know like fighting is wrong. But from the inside, if a person backs down because they're scared, because they're trying to just think, oh, okay, the bully's just going to keep coming, right? You may get the teacher involved, the mum and dad stepping. It's just going to keep happening. You're just delaying the problem to another time. Maybe that time we've sorted it, but it's not going to go away. So what we got to do is find where the problem is. Nobody should ever be bullied. I hate bullies, right? It's not something which I'm saying, oh my gosh, thank God it's happening. But sometimes when it does happen, embrace it a little bit to think, oh, an opportunity here for my child to learn the importance of independence. So that's our second level. So the attitude of I. But there is a higher level, and the higher level is called interdependence. So what does this mean? It's the attitude of we. This is the one where, if we go back to the bullying story that I spoke to about, a minute ago, this is understanding that it's okay to get help, to help me become the best I can be. It's not okay to get help just to solve the problem, because I'm not building the muscle then. The child is not getting strong. If mum and dad just got to step in and sort it, the problem isn't being solved. If mum and dad go and make the bed for the child, making the bed is not the problem, let's say, but the child isn't building the muscle to think, oh, I can be independent. Now, can mum and dad help? Of course. Can they give direction? Of course. Can the whole family work as a team? Of course. This is the highest level. This is the interdependence. But a person that is dependent can't go to the highest level. A person that is down here, that is dependent on everything, first they got to understand that they are important. So let's go back to the chain. Remember what I said about the link? The person is the link within that chain. They are very important. Let's say that link breaks. It doesn't matter how strong everything else is. No matter how strong the parents are, the school, brothers and sisters, how strong everybody else. If your link is weak, it's still going to break. It's still not going to work. So they got to get to that second level, right? Which is being independent. Being independent is now my link is strong, right? Everything is great. But what happens if everybody else's link is no good, or you've got the wrong people in the team? The chain will still break. So then what happens? The highest level is a person realizing that it's okay now to ask for help. It's okay to get great people in my team. It's okay to surround myself with like-minded people, people that are helping me to grow, not growing for me, not solving problems for me, but showing me the path, showing me the right direction to go. And this is generally where we take our kids. We're going to take Champion's character, of course. This is what we do. Hopefully we're a great part of your team. That's my ultimate goal, to be part of the team. But of course, there's other activities as well, which can do that. They might have great teachers at school, which really help them with the same thing. But I want to go back to that, making sure children are dependent first. When they're dependent, they go to realize it's not me relying on this other person to make me great. I realize that going to that second level, the attitude of being independent is so important. Everybody starts dependent, It's not saying, oh my God, if you're dependent on people, you're a bad person. It's not that. That's where we are. But the more we mature, hopefully we're going to go to the next level and then that highest level. Some people stay at the bottom. Some people stay at the middle part, which I think the middle part is great. It's a huge jump going from being dependent on people to being independent. That's a huge jump. That's a great jump. But it's not the highest level. The highest level is jumping again and realizing having a team around you of like-minded people can really help. So that is the structure of the maturity continuum. Now let me give you a brief overview of the 7 habits that are actually in there. And if you look at the first 3 triangles at the bottom, that's called our private victory, because that is all to do with you as an individual. It's all to do with you becoming great, getting to that second level of being independent. So that's why it's called private victory, something which you got to do. And the first habit is be proactive. Being proactive is so important, right? It's saying to the person, yes, I can sort this. I can take responsibility for this. It's okay getting help. Nothing wrong with getting help. In actual fact, the highest level is doing that, getting help. But if a person always thinks the problem's out there, sometimes that is the problem. A big thing with being proactive is there's 3 different things. The first thing is something happens. Something happens, and we call this a stimulus, right? Something happens over here, and over this side, over this side is our response. So something happens, and our response. Now, the younger we are, these generally are together. As soon as something happens, we respond. The older we get, the more responsible we get, the more independent we become, we start having a gap in between here. And the gap is what we call our freedom to choose. So the freedom to choose is, can I take a breath? Can I realize what this person is just, let's say, bullying situation. If a person has said something horrible to me, do I have to fire back? Do I have to be angry? Should I be sad? Should I start crying? Is that a better response to it? Maybe a better response is, stay happy. Stay you. Stay being the greatest you can be. If this person says you're this, that, who cares what they care? Who cares what label this person wants to put on you? But sometimes our instant response just becomes from there, boom, straight away. Like, does your child blow up in tantrums often? Are they unable to handle things straight away? Do they need that little bit of time? Which sometimes I know we have, go and have a step over there, or go and chill out over there, or whatever else it would be, which is a way of handling things, which, again, parents know the best way to do things sometimes with the current tools you have, right? But these tools can help you so much more to maybe start handling things like that a little bit different. So yes, eventually let's say a naughty step. I know this is called it sometimes. Naughty step is a way to go. But of course, that's after the fact. Something has happened and they've done something naughty, and we're trying to put a band-aid on it and go over there and sort that out, which will happen. Of course, I'm a parent myself. I know these things happen, right? But when things have calmed down, a better way to teach us. By the way, it's never a good idea to try to teach when someone's mad. You all know this, right? If someone's mad in time, it's not the time to teach. You just got to deal with it there and then. But after, when things have calmed down a little bit, talk about what happened there. Talk about their response. Talk about being proactive. This is where I say where using the language of the program can really help you in situations. So what happened there? So something happened. They wanted to watch a bit more TV or whatever this stimulus was. Their response was, I want to keep watching TV. I don't want to go to bed or whatever it will be, right? They just want that. That's their response. The freedom to choose that middle bit, for them to take a breath first, to calm down, to realize it is bedtime. It is something I should be doing, and realize that they got to do that. Blowing up or getting mad is not going to help their situation at all. A good example, something I like to use is bedtime. Okay, so let's say bedtime is 8 o'clock. The child knows bedtime is 8 o'clock. 10 past 8, they're still up whining and moaning that I don't want to go to bed, or whatever it is, right? Okay, so they're very dependent on the parent setting rules. Now, rules are important. All of us have got to follow rules. Rules of the country, rules of principles. These things, you can fight yourself against it, but it won't do you no good. Gravity is a good one. I can say there's no gravity. I can really say to myself, I believe there's no gravity. But chuck something up, it's going to come down, whether I want it to or not. That's a consequence, right? So going back to the bedtime story, what we want our child to try to do is maybe the next night or after they've calmed down, after everything's great. If you're having this problem, have a talk to them and say, I want you to decide what time you go to bed. They're looking at you a bit, what do you mean? I'm going to go to bed at 12 o'clock or whatever it would be, okay? Well, they can't go to bed at 12 o'clock because that's not within the rules. The rules is bedtime is 8 o'clock. And just like, let's say, if it was me, just like me, I got to follow rules. When I'm driving down the road and the traffic light goes red, I have to stop. That is a rule. Now, the choice is I don't have to stop. I could continue. So that would be my choice. But would that be a good choice or a bad choice? Of course, it's a very bad choice. Accidents could happen. I could get locked up. I could kill someone. The things that could happen, the consequences are very, very big for running the red light. So what's the consequence for, let's say we set the rule of 8 o'clock. What's the consequence for that? Well, mum and dad's going to get a little bit angry. We're going to get a little bit upset. You are going to get tired for school. You're going to be miserable the next day. The brain will not be as strong as it could be. And I want that absolute best for you. So that's why we've set the rule for 8 o'clock. So how can the child then set their own rule? So how can they do that? Well, at 7:59, any time before 8 o'clock, they can get up. They can show, okay, I'm off to bed, mum. So they have took control of the time they go to bed. They have become independent. They don't need to say, okay, mum and dad tell me to go and laugh at them a little bit. Maybe it's like you're a child, it's like you're a baby or something that, oh my God, we have this conversation again. We want them to have that freedom to choose that. They choose what time they go to bed within the rules. Rules are important. So being proactive is so massive and can help you greatly. Even though, like with all the habits, every week the habit changes, but being proactive, if that is not present, none of the other habits will work. So we always talk about being proactive in every class you ever do. So use that as an example to them, and other examples which you're going to come up with. So rules are important. We all got to follow them, but they can still be in control of the rules that they have within the rules. All right. So that's number one, be proactive. What's number two? So number two is begin with the end in mind, which is all about goal setting. If you have a youngster or whatever age of person is, for them to understand goal setting is massive. For them to understand that the direction that they go in life is so important. But he's only 3. So what age are we going to teach them about goal setting? What age are we going to say to them that it's a good idea to set the goal for this? But he's only 3. When you go to the park with them, right? Sit them down and say, right, the goal for today is we're going to go to the park later on. The next habit is how we set the plan for that. But let's stick with number 2 first. Setting the goal. Like you'll hear us say in class all the time, let's set the goal for black belt. Let's go for that. Why? Because yes, it's a far off goal and we want to have that vision of them receiving that black belt one day. And then we bring it down and break it down, the little goals that can go towards it. Like the first goal to go to that black belt is the first belt, which is white-red. So that is our second one. And the goal setting module is so great. It will help you so much in everything they do. That then takes us to number 3, which is habit number 3 is put first things first. What do we mean by that? Well, now we know what is important for us to do. We got to make sure that we have a plan of how to get there. So we have the puzzle, right? Great, we have the puzzle. Perfect. Try putting the puzzle together without the picture. So much harder. So the picture of the puzzle is habit number 2, right? Setting that goal. Realizing that I got to have a goal to actually, or I got to be able to see the goal to actually do it. Do people need goals? Will they still live life okay if they don't have goals? Of course, right? It's not saying if you have a puzzle without the picture, you can't make the puzzle. You can. But how much harder is it? How much harder is it to make the puzzle if you haven't got the picture? The picture makes making the puzzle so much easier. So once we've set the goals, we've got that, right? Okay, perfect. Then step 3 is, well, how do you make the puzzle? So we got that, okay. And you put the pieces in, right? They know how to do it. So step by step. So putting first things first is so important. Understanding how we do it. Like in a martial arts, the first step is turn up to class. Make sure you're doing your training. Second part is home training. You'll hear us, I know, in other activities they don't make maybe as big a deal of it as we do. I know where success lies, and success lies in here, in the student, not in the dojo. The training place, wherever it is great. That's where you get the information. Online is where you're going to get the information as well, because we got so much resources for you guys to have a look at. But in here is where it's really important. And how we get them to do that is to teach somebody else. So you learn the material, you capture it, and then you teach somebody else. Now, if it's just in the dojo you're teaching somebody else, we haven't got time for that. There's other things going on. Whereas at home, that's where it's important. So one of the important steps is, what's the first step? Come to class. Second step, make sure you learn the material. Third step, go teach somebody. And the faster you can do that, by the way, the more chance of you retaining the information. If you learn it on a Tuesday and then you try to teach somebody on Friday, too long, it's gone, right? You're better off as soon as you learn it on the Tuesday, that night when the kids go home, parents ask them, what did you do tonight? What's the martial art move? Oh, can you show me the move you actually did? And that will reinforce it into your child. The next day or a couple of days after, spend another 5 minutes just going over it. The more you do that, the more it will help them learn the program. So that's the first 3 habits. Habit number 1, be proactive. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. And habit number 3, put first things first. So those first 3 habits are all to do with getting you out of being dependent to becoming independent, which is great. After that, then we go to the next 3 habits. What's the first one? Think win-win. We have 5 rules of winning, which you're going to learn in class. But think win-win is realizing it's better if we both win at something instead of just me. Now, how does this work in a sporting scenario? 2 teams, 1 team wants to win. I traveled the world competing. Did I go on the mat thinking, oh, I want my opponent to win? Of course not. I wanted the first place trophy, right? So it's not meaning in that arena, but it still works in sport because I didn't want to injure my opponent. I wanted my opponent to do as well as they could. I didn't want to win because he had a bad day. I wanted to win because on that day I was better at whatever I was doing. And of course, I was a martial artist. It was world championships and stuff like that. That's what I was actually doing. It wasn't because I wanted the person to do bad. It's not about that. We want, in sporting scenarios, you want your team to be the best they can be. It's just you want your team to be better. That's all it is. And if you're not, for whatever reason, a sportsmanship, you congratulate the team, well done. And the truth is, a person learns so much more when they lose at something than they ever do when they win. So when we lose at something, it's not something to think, oh my God, I'm ashamed of myself, or I didn't do well. Like I said, there's 5 rules of winning, which we'll go through in the actual program more when you're doing it, which will help your child understand about winning and losing. So important. So that's that one. Now, my favorite one is number 5, which is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Why is it so powerful? Seek first to understand. So this is our listening one, right? This is our communication one. We listen first to what the person says. We digest, or we may ask questions about what they've said, and then we will respond to it. So this is a great habit for communication skills, to be able to listen first. So many times we speak first, and we have our opinion about somebody. Even when the person is talking, we're thinking about what I'm going to say next. So empathic listening is so important if we want our child to be the best they can possibly want at making friends, right? When a child generally makes a friend, what they do, talk about themselves, talk about how wonderful they are. No, spin it around. Get them to ask questions about the person. How are you doing today? What are you doing this evening? How is life with you? What do you like doing? And then they can align a little bit and then start talking about themselves, of course. But it's questions that make us great. So this habit is all about that, becoming a great communicator, which for kids, I think the biggest thing with that is making friends. Friends are such an important thing in life, and for many different things, even like with a teacher talking, listening to what the teacher is saying, digest it, then ask questions about what they actually said is so much more powerful than just getting your mind somewhere else. But anyway, we teach that in the actual class, right? The next one, so habit 6, synergize. So what's synergize all about? Synergize is working as a team, right? Understanding that sometimes having another person with you can make things not twice as good, but 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 10 times as good just by having a person helping you. Now, you got to make sure it's the right person, because remember what you said, it's no good you trying to get to this interdependence level and somebody that is dependent all the time, they're soaking the life out of you, right? That's difficult if you got to do that all the time, always trying to pull up this person. We want people that are also on the same journey as you, that want to be the best they can be. And when you find those people, hopefully with our program, Champions Character, I would class us as those kind of people. We're going to try our hardest to help your child become the best they can be, just what you want for your child. When you get into groups or activities like that, teachers like that, people are like that, it builds everybody up. There's an old saying, rising tide rises all boats. And that's what it is. If everybody's doing that, you watch what happens. Raising a person's standard is so important. So getting that synergy, working with somebody that, like I said, someone like ourselves or friends at school, teachers, whatever it would be, it will make the individual even better. So a great one, that one, synergize. Now, number 7, you can see on the diagram, it goes around all the other habits because it's all about our well-being. People think sometimes the well-being is only to do with your fitness level or exercise, stuff like that, nutrition. It's not. It is number 1, we call it body, right? So it is the first one, but there's 4 different parts to it. And you'll learn the other 3 parts when you actually come into the program. So important. And like I said, all these habits, Every week we concentrate 1 week on it. There's a lot online about each habit. And of course, the teacher material, we do a fresh video on each habit all the time. So not only is there a library of material, there's also relevant stuff for that particular week as well. Something might be going on in the country where we can tie whatever habit we're talking to into it, which makes understanding it sometimes easier. Okay, so that is the Maturity Continuum. That is the program. Something that builds that up, by the way, which all this is sat on, is principles and paradigms. So those two big categories. But again, we talk about those in the actual school. And there's going to be lots of videos around here on it. So to earn your first belt, what you got to learn is quite a bit of material for that first belt, right? So it's challenging, and I've purposely did it that way because I want you guys to realize if you want to get something, you got to dedicate some time to it. Dedicate the time within the academy, turning up to class, and then dedicate time at home, some time at home to learn this material. So there's a few moves you got to learn martial art wise, and then the life skill part is the Maturity Continuum. It's going from dependence to independent to interdependence. Now, you have not got to learn all the language in there. But my child's 3. How can they do it? Can they say the word, the Maturity Continuum? Are they able to say that? If they are, and they're 3 years old, they're going to get a massive round of applause, and that's part of their grading done. If they're 7 years old, can they say the Maturity Continuum? And there's 2 big parts of it, Master T, and 2 parts of it is the private victory and the public victory. 2 massive parts. If that's all they say, I know they've looked at it. I know they've tried to digest it, which is what we're wanting the kids to do. If they're 13, 14, can they say what I've just said there? And can they maybe go over the 3 habits which build up the private victory? Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Can they do that? Everybody is different and nobody is judged against anyone else. It's how we think you could do. So I never want people to worry about the personal development stuff that they got to learn. It's going to be in one of the first pages in your manual. It's going to be there all the time. And it's something we really want our students to digest because going forward, it's a massive part of the program. So much fun in personal development you're going to get because it will help them so much. And of course, as a parent, it's going to help you as well. So well done. So that was my overview of the Maturity Continuum. It's a lot of fun. You're going to enjoy actually learning the material and more importantly, where it's going to take you to.